Hi, it's Geoff from discoverdouble-bass.com. Welcome to another one of my video lessons. Don't forget, if you haven't been to see the website, please go and have a look after this lesson. And if you enjoyed it, you might want to sign up to the email list and be notified of new lessons coming out. And I'll also send you some great free material to help you with your studies. Now, today's lesson, I'm going to be talking to you about a really good exercise that will help improve your phrasing and thus improve your solos. It's taken from playing fours with a band, trading fours. And if you don't understand what that means, don't worry. I'm going to talk you through it. I'm going to explain to you a few ways that you can do it better. And then I'm going to show you how that relates to this exercise. So let's get stuck into the details and look at how learning these fours and improving your phrasing can help you. So let me give you a quick overview of what fours are. When you're playing in a jazz band, it's great that one person goes ahead and takes the lead and improvises their solo. But towards the end of the solos, typically, we often do this thing called taking fours, trading fours. And what that means is that the soloists start to interact where one musician will play 4 bars, then another musician will play 4 bars, and so on. Quite often the band leader will hold his hand up for fours to help let you know that that's going to happen. And a very common way that it comes about is when the drum solo, if nobody can take another full drum solo, they often quite like to break it up by playing 4 bars of a harmony instrument like the bass or the piano, whatever, saxophone, and then 4 bars of the drums. But you'll alternate, so it'll be maybe sax 4 bars, drums 4 bars, sax 4 bars, drums 4 bars. So I just want to give you a couple of quick ideas, since we're touching on the subject of fours, about ways that you can approach them when that's happening, because it's such a common thing. And then I'm going to move on and show you this exercise, which I think will help you with your phrasing in your solos. Well, when the drummer goes off and they're playing their fours, it can be quite tricky to keep everything together, because at that point everybody tends to drop out generally. And you need to be landing together on beat 1 at the start of the next bar, particularly if you're not that experienced or the band members around you aren't that experienced. The more that you've played this material, the more that you can break the rules, but whatever you do, you should certainly know where beat 1 is. And when the drum solo is happening, if they're playing very syncopated rhythms, it can be quite off-putting and you might lose your place. So here's a couple of tips to help you through. One is that if you're coming from a walking bass line, which is very likely, you can just continue to think of the bass line in your head without playing it. So, you'll be playing your 4 in a bar, and then you'll just keep going, but it's kind of singing it in your mind. And that can help keep that crotchet pulse while the drummer goes off on one. Another way of doing it is to literally just count 1, 2, 3, 4 in your mind. And if you're playing with either a really bad drummer who you're not quite sure where they are, or a really good drummer who's breaking the time up in a very clever way, it may be useful to do that. Of course, if you're playing with a good drummer, then hopefully they're playing really nice melodic and rhythmic phrases that resolve and let you know where that is. And also, don't forget to look and take the visual cues from the musicians amongst you. So you've got this 4 bars of drumming madness, and then you're listening in so you can land on beat 1. It's a really tricky thing to do. Think about the melody, think about the walking bass line, count and take your visual cues. Okay, let's get to this exercise that I'm trying to reach today. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine, Scott Devine, who's a fantastic bass guitar teacher, and he was telling me about a form of practicing improvising, which I'm going to explain to you now because I feel that it's really useful for us. And he was talking about mixing 4 bars of walking bass lines with 4 bars of an improvised solo, much the same way that you would be when you were taking fours with the band, okay? And that's what I was playing at the beginning of this lesson. You heard right at the start where I was taking 4 bars of a walking line and 4 bars of an improvised solo. And the reason why I think that this is so important is that for bass players in a jazz context, we are often the last person to play the solo before the melody starts. So we have to very clearly wrap up our solo and let the saxophonist, pianist, whoever's playing the melody, give them a bit of room and let them know by playing really clear lines that the tune is about to start. If we blunder into the start of the next chorus, there's a good chance that they will hesitate and stop, and you might have to go all the way around again and you'll ruin the shape of your solo. Or they'll, God forbid, they'll start soloing again and, the song never ends. So this is particularly important in tunes that have an anacrusis, and that's where the melody starts before the chord sequence, such as Autumn Leaves. So, and that note there is where the actual chord sequence starts. So you've got to give people room to do that. And it's a lot easier for saxophone players because they can go into the next solo and it's not such a problem because somebody else is soloing. But when the melodies come in next, you need to know how to wrap it up. Now, let's get back to this exercise of mixing the fours. I used to practice that, getting round that problem, just playing the last 8 bars of a tune and then trying to resolve my solo very well. And I'm just always aware of it on gigs. But this great little exercise will help you because you're playing in short bursts, 4 bars. You've got to play one phrase typically that ends very well and goes straight into your walking because you're playing the walking in the next 4 bars. So it ties it all together in this way, and it's a lot harder to do than it looks. Let me show you what I mean. So if I was trading fours with a saxophone player, I'd be walking for 4 bars and then soloing for 4 bars. Let's have a listen to what that would sound like. Back into the walking, soloing. Walking, getting ready for the soloing, walking. And so you can see there, I'm mixing between this walking 4 bars and soloing 4 bars, but it's really tricky to resolve the solos clearly enough and keep the lines, the phrases really clear and well shaped so that you can pick up the walking bass line. And it's a lot harder than it looks, so take some time to work on that. You might want to make sure that not all of your solos fill the 4 bars. Make sure you're trying to leave space, use shape, dynamics, all of the things that we speak about, and of course try it over different progressions. I was just playing an F blues there because that was what came to mind, but it's certainly worth trying this over different standards, and hopefully you'll improve your 4s when you're playing, but also your phrasing, which is the key thing, and having this awareness that you're moving towards the end of the form to enable the melody player to take over in that context. Well, I really hope that you've enjoyed today's lesson. And of course, if you have, you can let me know by pressing that like button, and then we can share the lessons with more people. And I'd really appreciate it as well. So I'll keep practicing hard, and I'll see you next time.